Hey folks, welcome back to another Rob Plays. I'm Rob, obviously, and this week we've got another Journey to C64 month with the brand new release, Yoomp 64. Now, if you've been a long time viewer of the channel, you'll remember that I actually looked at the original Atari 8-bit game, Yoomp, late 2015. If you haven't seen that episode, there'll be a card and a link in the description. So this is an official conversion that just came out, recording it the day after it did, and it is, of course, converted by his name is Zbigniew Ross. I'm sorry if I messed that up. My text files. Going through get my notes here. Anyway, so the basic idea with Yoomp is, it's, some people call it Trailblazer in a tunnel. I think of it as a 3D bounder. Yoomp was originally inspired by an Atari PD game called Jump, and that was very bounderish. But anyway, let's hit fire and get into it. You've got your options for music and a password. Every level gives you a password. There's 23 levels all up. And I should mention that Yoomp 64 is only for PAL machines, regretfully. Unfortunately, there's a lot of really smart technical trickery. I actually did not believe that someone could actually get this running on the 64 when I was some comments I made when I looked at the Atari version. But, they have. And it's actually a really solid conversion. The music is some excellent music involved here. It's a little different from the more pounding music which the Atari version offered, but it's still a great set of tunes to listen to. The basic idea is you just move down the tunnel, avoid the holes, and pretty much just cruise along to the end of the stage. Thankfully, it's not a significantly challenging game. The levels, I don't know if it's just because of the 3D projection, because you're looking down the tunnel rather than overhead, but I actually find the game to be a lot fairer than Bounder ever was, if you remember that video from not too long ago. And it's a very chilled, funnily enough, I find this game to be kind of chilled to play. And that's a compliment I would level for the original Atari version. This is one amazing conversion. The 64's limitations, particularly with colors, are a bit of a downer. The Atari, of course, had the capability to handle 16 luminances, so 16 levels of color intensity, and the 64 doesn't quite do that. And so those areas where there are tiles you'll bounce on which darken or lighten the scene, it's actually much cooler on the Atari because it's actually adjusting the palette. Regretfully, the 64's smaller palette means you can't do that. But I'm really glad to see this finally out there. Like I've said earlier, it's only for PAL machines. There's a ridiculous amount of work taken to actually get this game to run on the machine. And if you're actually interested in that, there's a really good bit in the manual, whether you get the download or the physical release. And this is being jointly published by Cytronic and RGCD, so you offer the option of the digital download, which will give you both images as the game as a CRT cartridge, which is the image I'm using to play this now, or as a disc image. Cytronic have the physical disc version available. It's £14 when I checked, and of course RGCD have the game on cartridge. So, and of course buying either of those physical releases does net you a copy of the download. So you don't end up being like me, waking up, seeing that it's out and buying the download, thinking that it's just the download, but then seeing the physical copies out as well. Now, something else we haven't really talked about yet is there's sort of these physical jumps. So you see in the bottom of the score, you've got your lives, your score, and then you've got the jump. So if you hit fire, when you next bounce on the playfield, what will actually happen is you'll do a long jump. It sort of covers a bit more distance. So it's sort of like a fallback in case you mess up. Or you mess up just like that. I've made it to level 4 so far. And I forgot to write the passwords down. So hopefully I can actually get some passwords here. And heck, if you're viewing this, you're going to see some passwords as well. It's such a lovely, chilled back game. It's funny. When playing Bounder, I thought Bounder was infuriating to the point of near just impossibility. But this, on the other hand, even though it's basically the same formula, it just feels way more fun. It feels like it respects you as a player, and I love how fair it is. Like, every time I've messed up, it's been because I messed up. You don't have to actually memorize the stage to like the millionth degree in order to really feel like you're going somewhere. It's worse when you mess up and you like at the last jump. Level 2 done. Let's get our password. I admit when I'm playing this, like prior to actually sitting down to play it now, I had a few runs for it emulated because it was more convenient. But of course, this channel is about doing stuff on real hardware, so I've got to show it on real hardware when playing it. So, and one of the things I thought was it might have been a bit, potentially a little too blocky on a tally. I'm playing this in my setup with the frame master doing the upscaling and whatnot, so it's kind of a different, I would love to see this on a lovely little CRT sub situation, but of course, they're not always the, not everyone's going to have a CRT, and I'm kind of jealous of people who do have the space to run one, because I admit I'd love to be able to run one and run the frame master for the upscaling separately, but it kind of gets a bit complicated. There are other things, like one little surprising detail you probably might notice is that for the first time in a long time, I've got headphones on again, because I've been lucky to make a couple of crucial upgrades inside the old towers. A long overdue laptop upgrade for starters. Which will put an end to hour-long render times for episodes, which has been a thing of late, sadly. So that's what excites me most. But it also means I've been able to upgrade the capture box I use. So the best part of that is I can completely mute the tally in the background, and I'm getting the sound out of the capture hardware, because the capture hardware has a much lower latency than it used to. So good times all round. Always gets tricky when you're coming to these parts where you're on the roof, because of course it's like joystick right to make you rotate counterclockwise, joystick left to make you rotate clockwise. And you can always mess that up. The one thing that's always worth noting is a big rule of thumb with this game is really the basics of your timing. Every bounce of a standard bounce, not a long bounce, lets you move 1 square forward and 1 square to the side. And I think if you sort of acknowledge that kind of pattern, you could sort of get to grips with the stages pretty easily. I get a little psychedelic there. And I think then when you do the long jump, there's a speed up. And that's sort of the timing you really need. And like when you learn that time, you can sort of learn the intricacies of the levels, and that'll help you move through. It's like, as I said, this game is actually really fair and really good fun to play. I think I was the drunk square. No, just let's. It's one of the things I really like about it. Like I said, I was blown away when I played the original Atari version nearly 3 years ago. And when someone said, when the post went up on Lemon that this was in the works, I was my mind blown, because I didn't think it was feasible. It's doing some amazing tricks with sprites. Essentially, that was a bad move. Oh, level 5. Ooh. Essentially, this is actually multiplexing the actual playfield. Oh, darn it. Essentially, with the sprites, what it's doing is it's actually doing a 24 sprite multiplexer, so 4 rows of 6 sprites, double sized, and it's doing a lot of really smart plotting in there. It's actually a really cool trick. Again, it's the kind of thing that's talked about in the documentation. Hey, 4,000 is not bad. Like I said, this game is utterly amazing. It is a massive achievement for the 64. I do feel for the NTSC viewers who won't be able to play it on real hardware. It's just put together so well. Great visuals, great music, responsive controls. Tough. It's a challenge, but it's a fair challenge, and those are the best kind of games. They're the kind of games where you can sit down and get to grips with it and learn it, and it feels manageable. It doesn't feel overwhelming. It doesn't feel like it's an impossible challenge like other games are. So do check this out. I'll have all the links below. As always, if you had a chance to play it, or if you're curious, do let me know. Like I love hearing people actually grabbing these new releases, checking them out. Earning a little bit of pocket cash for the folks who do put their energy into creating such great works for the old micros. And if you haven't already, do consider subscribing. I know people hate me saying it, but do ring the bell as well, because that's how you'll be notified. Otherwise, thank you all very much for watching, and I'm going to leave it here. So thank you all very much, and I'll see you all next time.